in on that deadly shooting involving a Charlotte area officer yesterday.
Yeah, that shooting unfolded in South Charlotte near Pineville, and we know it started as a shoplifting incident at a food line in the McMullen Creek Shopping Center. Well, we've learned more about how police say they tried to stop Dennis Bodden multiple times with a taser before resorting to a gun. And we've learned police say they've had run-ins with this man before for shoplifting at that same food line.
We want to check in now with our Erica Lunsford. Due to storms in the area, we have her by phone. Erica?
Yes, Javon and John, as you mentioned, Dennis Bodden, police say they tried multiple times to get him to stop and use a taser before resorting to a gun. Now, here's video from the scene yesterday outside of the Food Lion parking lot. Police tell us a call came in about a shoplifting in progress, and that's when an off-duty Pineville police sergeant working nearby responded to the store and encountered Bodden, who was unarmed. Investigators say Bodden ignored and refused the sergeant's order to stop, continuing to walk away. And Pineville police say the sergeant followed Bodden across Johnston Road while requesting backup. And then, according to police, Bodden got physical with the officer. That's when they say the sergeant deployed his taser, but that didn't work. And they say Bodden kept walking away. Then shortly after, backup arrived, and there was another scuffle, and a backup officer tried to tase Bodden. Police say Bodden lunged towards the sergeant and tried to grab his gun. Officers say that's when the sergeant shot and killed him. Again, we want to be clear. Police say that Bodden did not have a weapon. A former CMPD officer we spoke to says it's likely the off-duty sergeant will not face any charges.
His counsel would argue that even though he was off duty, which simply means he was being paid by someone other than his department at that time, he was acting as a law enforcement officer the moment that he had to take the actions that he had to take. Even though if that individual didn't bring a weapon, if at any point in time they attempt to take the officer's taser, or take the officer's baton, take the officer's weapon in a fight, then all of a sudden you may be looking at a situation where deadly force may be required.
Bodden was said to have shoplifted wine and other various grocery items. And at last check, the Pineville police sergeant is on paid administrative leave pending the outcome of this investigation. Reporting in Pineville, Erica Lunsford, WBTV on your side.
Erica, thank you. Another